strong.
What's going on, everyone? Between the Dots is back for another week. NHL playoffs are underway. Joined, as always, by Rory Keith. He's got the best voice in all podcasting, and Colin Kajowski, who's probably got the cleanest beard in all podcasting, too. What's going on today, guys?
Not much. I'm excited that Vegas is playing at 7 tonight. Don't catch many late games. So, be nice to tune into that one. You got the clean mic, though, folks. So,
There we go.
You're sounding nice and crisp. Good
There we
intro. Bringing the energy.
Crisp and ready to go. It's exciting. Playoffs is underway. Kijo, I miss your mustache, though. I really wish you brought that back for a little bit, but you got the playoff.
We can probably bring it back.
Playoff beard with the Leafs is what that is, right?
Oh, the Leafs. I'd like to see if you could compare like mental health struggles and how many of those people are Leafs fans. Like, there's got to be a connection there. They are just pulling me all kinds of ways right now.
Yeah, the phone calls go up to usually around April as well to those places. But hey, as a Sens fan, it's nice for me because I'm stress free this time of year, right? I don't have to worry about anything in playoffs. All I have to worry about is the draft, which is nice. Same with you right now too, Roy, with the Wings. But
thanks for looping me into that.
Yeah, it's nice because misery loves company, so that's why I had to throw you in there. But yeah, I guess we'll start off today with the Leafs and the Bruins matchup. Lots to get into with that. We'll also be talking about the Lightning and the Panthers, the Jets and the Avs, and then some matchups that are already decided for next round as well. Canes are going to be facing off against the Rangers. We'll be talking about the rest of the playoffs just in general. So a lot of great action this past week that we are going to be breaking down, just kind of giving our reactions to. So yeah, let's start off with Leafs versus Bruins. I'll tell you, they when they were down 4-1 or 3-1, not 4-1, 3-1 to the Bruins before last night's game 5. I had the write-up already planned for them, and I'm sure a lot of people wrote them off as well too. So it's Kijo, how do you feel after last night's win?
Oh, last night's win was seeing Matty Nice get that goal. And I think he's actually a pretty good series. I think he was deserving of a big goal. But this is what the Leafs do. They seem like they're going to lose the series, and then they just pull you right back in to what's happened in the past is, obviously, you guys know, break the hearts of Leafs fans, but I'm hoping it's going to be different.
I feel like that's a pretty realistic take on the Leafs there. Like, is it just like they're just giving their fans hopium right now and trying to make it a series, or is Boston toying with them really, and they're calm right now and they shouldn't be worried? I don't know. What do you think, Roy?
I just think that most of the games have been really close, and I guess the good thing for the Leafs is that they finally were able to crack Swayman after 8 straight wins, I'd say, against the Leafs this season. So, I mean, that's a good start. I noticed that Wall started last game as well. I don't know if you think that, was it really Samsonov's fault on a lot of those goals, or is it just, all right, we're just going to put the other goalie in to shake things up? What do you think on that?
I feel like in September, not even September, but sometime in November, Kijo, you were saying you thought Wall should have been the starter, and then Wall went down to injury.
Yeah, I think if he doesn't get injured this year, and it was obviously a pretty long injury, like he was out for a while, I think he is starting the playoffs. But I've said this all along, it's like Samsonov, he obviously had his struggles as well, but even when he's playing good, he just looks sketchy in the net. Like, he'll make the save, but it'll still look like, I don't know, not that he's getting lucky, but obviously luck's a part of it for every goalie in the NHL. And you got to get to win, you got to get lucky at some point. But I just think about the players. Do they, after a game like that, and they see Wall make the saves, like he made a bunch of big saves late in the third, a couple in overtime. Like, that game doesn't even get to overtime, I think, without him playing the way he did. But I just think that the players going forward, like moving on to game 6, thinking like, wow, we've got that confidence in our goalie back there. Maybe we'll push a little harder, and we'll, like, you want them to push as hard as they can every game. I know it's the NHL and they get paid good to do that, but like, I just think confidence in your goaltending goes a long way, and maybe that will boost the Leafs to what will need to be 3 straight wins against Swayman and the Bruins. But I don't know. They're doing what they do to me every year. I'm feeling good right now, even though we're down.
Well, I think that it allows, like you said, it allows the offensive players to cheat up ice a little bit more, right? They don't need to be quite as defensively sound as maybe they think they would need to with Samsonov in net. But that being said, with Matthews, where are we at with him? They say it's a flu or it's some illness, but based on how he was moving in that last game, I'm just not sold that it's illness related. I feel like it's an injury, but I haven't been reading in the depths really about that. I don't know. Do you think it is an illness, or is he hurt?
It's got to be an illness plus something, in my opinion, because I think Matthews is the kind of guy that wants to play. Like, he's not, yeah, okay, I'll sit out. Like I said, they make their money and they're getting paid no matter what. But I really do think that Matthews, he just had a huge year. Like, all the goals he got, winning the Rocket. Like, I think he wants to keep going in the playoffs. And I don't, whether, is that a doctor's call? Is it his call? I don't know. But I really think it's got to be more than just an illness, because I think he's the type of guy to be out there. I really do.
Yeah, go look up the MJ flu game. The guys don't miss playoff games for a stomach ache or an illness. Like, there's something wrong, and it's, who knows? Who knows? They're just keeping it under wraps because obviously you don't want to show your hand, especially in a playoff series. So but kudos to the rest of the Leafs for stepping up. I mean, like, before last night's game 5, where the Leafs won in overtime, the media was writing them off. The narrative had been written about how, they weren't ready going into the playoffs. The whole Matthews chase for 70 was a distraction, and, their special teams hadn't been good enough, and the core 4 wasn't playing good enough, and, it's goaltending, it's all this stuff, coaching, and it's like, now they're starting to put every game that the Leafs win, they're putting more doubt into the Bruins' mind. So it's just got to be one game at a time. If they win Thursday night in Toronto, which, again, that's going to be a hard-fought game. Toronto's 0-6 in their last 6 playoff home games. They got to perform. They got to perform. But if they win that, they're bringing it back to Boston, and they've already won 2 in Boston this series. So, I mean, and you're going to have all that momentum going into Game 7. So it's just one game at a time, and they've definitely kind of restored the hope in the fan base and in the media after they had seemingly kind of writ them off, which, yeah, was surprising.
Especially with what happened with Boston last year. Like, they had a 3-1 series lead last year, and they lost it. Like, I know when the media asks them, are you thinking about last year at all? The answer is no, that's behind us. We're focused on this year. We're only focused on this series. But every single person on that Bruins team that knew they had a 3-1 series and ultimately lost to the Panthers, they're thinking about it. I don't care what anyone says. It's in the back of their mind. And if the Leafs can pull out a win in Game 6 and send it back to Boston, we know the history with the Leafs and the Bruins in Game 7s. Boston's won them all, but I don't care. When it gets to Game 7, anybody can win. So if the Leafs have a good performance tomorrow night and they can get it back to Boston, the doubt for Boston creeps up even more, I think. Like, it's even at 3-1, I think it was still a good series, and it obviously wasn't over yet because we're still going, but I'm hoping for 2 more games, and it's going to be a battle tomorrow night for sure.
And they're going to need Joe Wall to be a wall again tomorrow night like he was in Game 5. I don't know about what you guys think, but for me, that was the main reason why the Leafs ended up winning that game last game. Just all the timely saves he made, late in the third period, and just even in overtime made a couple big saves before the Matty Nyes goal, and just he was phenomenal. So I think they'll need another performance like that as well, especially if you're going up against Swayman or Allmark, a team that's really only going to be giving up like 2-3 goals. You're going to be missing most likely Austin Matthews. So I think, yeah, they'll need another performance like that. What was kind of the main reason you thought the Leafs got it done the other night?
I think that because they came together and they didn't, when this happens to teams, they either bow out and they're like, we're done, we're not coming back, or let's give them everything we got, show the fans back in Toronto that we want to get back there. We want a game 6 and a game 7. And I just think that it goes back to what we were talking to at the start is if your goalie keeps you in it off the start, I know Wall let in a goal right off the start, but like he was solid. And again, if your goalie is solid, like you said, Rory, you can make that play, cheat for that offense, maybe pinch if you're a D-man and you wouldn't have before. You're a little worried about Samsonov, and then you back off. I just think that the confidence in the goaltending is why they won last game, and picking up for other guys like Matthews that weren't in the lineup. That's the main reason. And we know Boston has the edge with the goalies. Swayman and Allmark are both better than both the Leafs goalies. Boston's defense is better than the Leafs defense. But no matter what anyone says, the Leafs have better forwards. They do. Whether they're performing well enough in the playoffs to get it done, that's still yet to be seen. But the Leafs do have better forwards. So if they can pull close with the goaltending and have Wall have a good couple games here and the forwards show up and they put a few in the net, I really do think it's still anybody's series.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And yeah, like you said, team defense too. I think they really limited the high danger chances last game as well. Like they weren't making, like Wall made some big saves, no doubt, and timely saves, but for the most part, they did a great job at limiting those like high danger chances. They weren't giving up breakaways, certainly not any 2-on-0s to Brad Marchand and company. So it's like that's what you're looking for. Is limiting those high danger chances, and that's a commitment to team defense, and that takes everyone buying in as well, kind of like you were saying. So, yeah, for you, Rory, what was the main reason?
Unfortunately, I only caught the first period and the last little bit of the third and OT, but I think that the defense's ability to make just tape-to-tape passes before their breakouts, I think that was a lot better than game 1 or even game 2. I noticed that particularly in those games, it was pretty sloppy and it caused a lot of turnovers halfway up the boards and turnovers at the blue line and such. So that was something that they just looked more like they were on their game and just making better moves. Just not even like rushing the play, like they're able to calm it down and get that first good pass and then get out of the zone.
Do you think all that stuff comes from the coaches, or do you think it's the players that's just finally clue in, say, guys, we gotta crisp up our game here? Or do you think it comes from the coaches who are like, all right, this is do or die now, guys? Like, I don't know, who do you think's more responsible for that?
Something like that, I think, like, could just simply be due to early playoff nerves. Like, at the end of the day, these are NHL players, and mistakes like that, like what you saw with the turnovers in games 1 and 2, just shouldn't be coming from NHL caliber players, right? Like no matter if it's their 6th or 7th defenseman, being able to make a tape-to-tape pass or bank pass off the backboards behind the net just should be second nature to them. So I think that maybe the D-corps is just more settled into the series and feeling more confident with themselves.
Yeah. Well, I know I'm just mentioning it because I know that a lot of people were like, Sheldon Keefe's on the hot seat if he doesn't get out of this round. And certainly after game 4, when they were down 3-1, people were on him about how he was reacting to the media. He's saying, oh, like, this next game's just like any other. And people are, no, this is the playoffs. This is not a game that's like just any other. And they're talking about his ability to get the team ready even for playoffs. And I was just wondering, because like now they come into their last game and they were certainly ready to go last game. I think the shots were like 14-2 after a period and a half. So they were certainly ready to go in limited chances and played a team game. And it was like, is that more the coaches or the players? What do you think, Kidjo?
I think it's got to be a combination of both when you get down to like, in the regular season, it's the coach with his systems and the way he wants to do things. But I really think that the coach still has his impact, obviously, but one of the players, whoever it is, maybe it's somebody we're not expecting. Like maybe Jake McCabe stands up in the room and says, "Listen, fellas, like we've got an unbelievable team here. We're without our arguably our best player, one of the best players in the world. Like he scored for us all year. Let's win a couple of games for him. Maybe he's back for 7." Like I think it's the guys like that that will step up and say something in the room that you might not expect. But yeah, I do think it's a lot of the players when you get to this part of the season.
Yeah. Man, talk about a guy who steps up and is worth every penny of his contract. Like, he had a great game, Jake McCabe. And another guy that's standing out to me in the series, like Max Domi, standing out to me. Matty Nyes is standing out to me. And it's like these guys aren't making the big bucks, but they're playing the game the right way. And it just makes me think like, because again, the media is going to point the finger at the core four not being able to get it done. Thought Tavares had a good game last game. Thought Marner did as well too. They were dialed in, and the whole team was really. But just in terms of like looking at things as the series as a whole, like they were lacking the first few games. They struggled, and the media was all over those guys. And Matthews isn't in the lineup, and I mean Trent Frederick has more goals than Austin Matthews in the series right now by 3 times as many goals. So it's and he's making 2.3 million and Matthews making 13 next year. So it's like it begs the question, like, should they consider restructuring? I know that's the question that we have every year, but what do you think about that? Like, do you think, again, like, let's just see how this series plays out first, obviously, before we can get into that stuff, or what?
In my opinion, restructure, yeah, but the more it goes, and who knows, if they win this series and they win the next one and they lose in the Eastern Conference Finals, maybe it's a different story. But I do think if you were to trade somebody for the most value, with still a year left on his contract and somebody has to go out, it has to be Mitch Marner. He is an unbelievable player, and we all know that if he goes to another team, I'm sure he'll be fantastic. And watch, come the playoffs, if he makes the playoffs with that team, he'll probably be good there too. It's just right now, I don't think right now or the last couple playoffs, he hasn't really been what he's paid to do. And I think if you want to restructure it and you want some cap space, it's Marner's the guy that's got to go. But I hope I'm wrong because they win the next few rounds or whatever. But I think Marner's the one he's got to go out.
Marner to me is just so quiet. Like there was a play last night. He had the puck down low on the left side and he circles. He's coming up over the circle and there's a clear lane at the net. It might have been an OT or it was very late in the third. And he has this clear lane to the net and he just keeps skating and skates right through the house, goes to the far side. Then he makes that backdoor pass and it just misses Yarncroke, I think. It's like, he's trying to set up the play, but you gotta be a shooting threat as well. Like if you're just looking off every time, then especially on the power play, it's very easy to defend against a player like that and then just guard the other side. And Matthews, like, I don't know, that one kind of just like irked me a little bit. It was like, just take that lane and get a high danger scoring chance and take the shot. Like he just looks off too much for me.
Yeah.
That's why I think that Nylander and Matthews are the ones you have to keep, because if they have the puck, a goalie's always thinking about the shot. They're like either of those guys can rip it over the goalie's shoulder, but I honestly don't think they think about that when Marner has the puck in the slot. They're just like, okay, yeah, where's he passing to? I'm moving over there because Marner's not. For one, if he shoots it, I'm going to stop it. I hate to say that, but I think it's true. And then two, like I'm looking where the pass is going because he's going to pass it. So I think he's just easy to read come the playoffs. And it's not like he's in the corner throwing hits. Like Pasternak has been unbelievable for me because, okay, he hasn't been lighting up the score sheet. Like he has scored, but he's throwing hits. He's same with Marchand. Like they're doing the things that you have to do in the playoffs. And I never see that from Marner, and it's frustrating.
Mm-hmm. And the other guys certainly aren't throwing their gloves on the bench either. But you know what fixes all that, right, is winning. So if they can win, then nobody's going to question things, right? They win this series, they win the next one. Nobody's going to question whether they should restructure, whether they should dump Mitch Marner this offseason. If they go down first round, then yeah, there's going to be some questions, and certainly deserving so. I guess one final point on the Leafs. What did you guys think about him throwing his gloves on the bench?
I love Nylander's response. And if that's not rock bottom or potential rock bottom, then I don't know what is in a series. So it could have only been up from there. So
yeah, I don't know. Like, you're an NHL player. Like, why are you doing that? And I'm echo exactly what you said, Rory. Like, Nylander saying this isn't effing junior hockey or whatever it was he said. Like, that's perfect. Like,
quit crying.
It's true.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
Man up and do something. Score a goal. Like, just push through it. You're an NHL player. Like, same with Matthews too. Like, I know he's not playing, but I think he was kind of like, come on here, like, figure it out. So
yeah,
I don't know. I'm hoping they pull it out tomorrow night in Game 7.
Certainly good to see they're holding each other accountable, which is a good sign of a team, right? So yeah, big game tomorrow night, Thursday night, Leafs versus Bruins, Game 6 in Toronto. We'll see if the Leafs can end that losing streak that they're on currently right now on home ice, dating all the way back 0-6 in their last 6 home games, dating all the way back to the Florida series that they had last year, as well as the Tampa one. So obviously,
if you guys have
change.
If you've got an extra $600 laying around and you want a standing room only obstructed view, then go check out the game.
That sounds great. Standing room only, perfect. Not to mention any beverages or anything else you're gonna buy there too, right? That's brutal. A great deal. Great deal. Maybe that's why they're losing at home. I don't know. These ticket prices need to be more affordable. So, yeah, big game tomorrow night though for the Leafs. Thursday night. Another one, we'll kind of talk about some series that have ended recently. Well, this past week, the Lightning ended up losing. The longtime Atlantic Division enemy of the Leafs, who seemingly kind of ended their hopes, I think, a few years in a row, but Leafs got the best of them last year. So Lightning goes down first round this year, losing 4-1 versus the Florida Panthers. Is that dynasty over? Is it over for them, or what? Like, what do we think?
The names that are there, you think that it's too early in the franchise's arc for them to be this team that just gets outed in 5 now in the first round. You know, like, still you got Kucherov, Stamkos, Hedman, Vasilevsky. Like, okay, you just think about those 4 names. It's like there's a great start of a core of a Stanley Cup contender, but you watch the team play and there's just no depth anymore. Like, that's the big difference maker. It's not that those players are washed by any means. They're still all great and extremely talented players, but it's the depth. And when those players aren't on the ice and what they're capable of doing, it's just like Hagel can pull his weight as a great secondary scoring player, but there's just not much else going on with that team. And it showed in the regular season when you have Kucherov, who has 50 more points or whatever than the second best player on that team, right? And even he didn't look very engaged in that series. I think that once it was down, it looked like he had the feeling that they were done. And Vasilevsky had incredible moments, but he didn't even look himself, like unable to catch pucks sometimes in his glove or letting these big rebounds out to the slot. It's just not the Vasilevsky we're used to either, who can steal games. Like, he wasn't in a position to steal Tampa really any games. So maybe that's just a testament to Florida and how good that they are.
Well, Kucherov didn't look to be the best player on the ice. Certainly Stamkos, I thought, was the best player on Tampa. And Stamkos, his contract's up at the end of this year. They really got to figure that out. I don't think it's time for them to break things down yet, because I still think they do have the ability to find themselves again. Like you said, all those core players are still there. So, I agree with you. The dynasty may not be done, but that depth is certainly lacking. That's what happens when you trade away, like, your last 5 first-round picks or whatever it is. Like, they are missing that depth. And yeah, it'll be tough for them to find, but they got to get Stamkos done this offseason, and they got to come back come back stronger than what they were because other teams are getting better.
A huge part of this too, obviously, is holy Florida is so good. Like they've got the goalie, they've got the big defense, they've got the guys that can score, the forwards that can hit and score. Like just showing what they did to a very good Tampa Bay Lightning team is so frightening for either the Leafs or the Bruins, whoever get to play them, because that they are elite for sure. I know they went to the Cup final last year and I think they have more to prove. Obviously, they think they can win it. And after seeing that first round, just getting rid of the Bolts like nothing, it's going to be scary for any team that plays them.
Yeah,
Bobrovsky just looks to be in the zone. He's classic playoff Bobrovsky, save of the year for sure. In that first or second game, that was insane with his elbow.
Yeah,
like that was crazy. So and he looks so poised in the net right now too. So he's tough to beat.
Yeah, that was one of the greatest saves I've seen in a long time. Like, I don't remember the last time I saw a save that good. It was so different from like just a guy reaching across with his paddle and he knocks it out of the air or something. You see those like a few times a year. That one was like he slides to one post because he has to, and then he spins back around and gets it with like behind the back. That was crazy. But yeah, the Florida Panthers, they're looking legit. So we'll see. They're either getting Boston or the Leafs. And that'll be a great series as well too. So, yeah, I guess testament to more so the Panthers than I guess the Lightning in terms of why that series went the way that went. Because the Lightning, they're a good team, lots of experience still, and certainly like they can find themselves again. Just wasn't their year. That Florida team looks great. Then you shift over to a series like the Jets versus the Avalanche. Is that more on the Jets or is that more on the Avalanche? Because the Jets lose 4-1 in that series.
I guess it depends. It's, in my opinion, the Jets did it to themselves. Hellebuck, like, how does that happen? The opposite of Bobrovsky. Like, he's probably going to win the Vezina. And now he's just like, that was good, eh?
Yeah. Is that you,
and now
Rory, that did that? He's in agreement.
He's nowhere to be seen in the playoffs. I don't know how you could be that good in the regular season. Like, I guess it's nerves and the Jets getting back to the playoffs. But again, the Avalanche they're a team built for the playoffs. So many guys that can score. And their goalie was pretty good too. I think the Avs really took it to the Jets, but Hellebuck really let them down.
Yeah, the Avs look really in sync, and the playoff players that you expect to show up, like Nichushkin, was dominant, and like their power play is just clicking on all fronts. But yeah, like I don't know how bad we'd say like the Jets' defense were, but a Vezina goaltender, you can't let up 6 goals a game every game. Like you don't stand a chance. You don't stand a chance to win. Like, yeah, game 1, super entertaining with 13 goals, but yeah, I thought that the Jets were going to go farther clearly based on our last episode. I was like, yeah, you know what? Gut's telling me they're winning the cup. No, they let up like 30 goals in 5 games. So yeah,
you
Avs
make the
real.
trades too at the deadline, bringing in like Monahan and Toffoli and all these new guys coming in to make your team better, and then they win the first game on home ice. You have home ice in the series, and then they just blow the next 4 straight. Like that to me is just, and that Avalanche team, yeah, they're experienced, but they remind me a lot of like the Lightning. Like they had their time, they won already. But yeah, they do look great. They're playing playoff hockey, and the Jets just failed to elevate their game to the level it needed to be done. Hellebuck couldn't stop a beach ball. They're giving up like 5 goals a game, and now they're another one less Canadian team in the running to win things. And it's disappointing though, because Avalanche though, credit to them. They're still a great team, obviously. Cale Makar, without a doubt, best defenseman in the league. That is hands down. Watching him play is insane. His footwork and his ability to just go back and retrieve the puck and start the offense and lead it as well is just unbelievable. He is without a doubt best defenseman in the league, in my opinion. Not close. Quinn Hughes.
Yeah, he had a nice rush. He had a nice rush in Game 4.
Yeah.
I think he got a bit of a
End to
lucky
end.
bounce off a shin pad, then right back onto his stick. But
Yeah.
even that, like, that shot can't go in.
Right.
Like,
Right.
it's from
It's
feet away from the top of the circle. That off the rush, no threat. It's not an odd man rush. That can't go in.
Yeah. And like with Makar too, just so talented. And it's just, I think back to that original question too of the whether it was more the Avs or the Jets. I think it was a little bit more the Jets. They had a team that was good enough, and they didn't even really compete with the Avalanche. The Avalanche blew them out this series, and that's what happens when you don't play well enough against a team that's got a lot of experience and still really talented players like the Avalanche, and that are certainly playing in sync. And I think that's on the Jets though. They could have fought a little bit harder, I think.
It goes back to what we were saying about the Leafs too, and how the Bruins trust Swayman and how the Leafs trusted Wall. I think they were nervous too because they didn't trust Hellebuck. I know he was fantastic in the regular season, but maybe their D aren't pinching when they should, or their forwards aren't taking the offensive opportunities because they're worried about getting back because they don't think their goalie's going to make a save. I think it really does stem from your goalie struggling. It sounds obvious, but it's true. Your goalie struggling. You don't have confidence in them, then you lose confidence in your teammates, and it snowballs, and that's recipe for a first-round exit.
Yeah,
it's weird to see when the Jets swept them this year too, and that last game dominated 7-0, like a week before playoffs started too. So there's something to be said about playoff experience and being able to thrive under the pressure.
Jets were on like a 7-game win streak going into playoffs
too. Yeah.
Like, I don't understand how they blew it this series. They like 4-1. It's already over.
I thought that was a 7-game series for sure.
Yeah.
I thought it was going to be one of the better series of the first round.
Yeah. Talking about that too, the only one series too, Vegas and Dallas that have gone to 2-2. All the other ones are sitting at 3-1. Nashville and Vancouver is now at 3-2. So at least that's turning the same with Boston and the Leafs. But for a little bit there, it was like, oh my gosh, are any of these series going to go past 5 games? And yeah, it's so just kind of talking about the rest of the playoffs now, like Vegas and Dallas too. That's been a bit of a weird series where Dallas loses the first 2 on home ice, but then they go to Vegas and they win the next 2 in Vegas. You guys have any thoughts about that series?
Well, Aiden Hill's starting tonight, so as good as Thompson had been in the series to date, he's letting in these weak goals that just can't go in. So you're in a tough spot. Like, what do you do? You think you got a stranglehold winning 2 games on the road. It's like, okay, if we split at home, we're in a pretty good spot, but now they're back in Dallas tied. So I think that going with the goalie that got you the cup the last year is probably the right move, because then you're in a lose-lose situation if you lose in Dallas and you don't really know which goalie to go with. So I think take the chance now is the right play. And we'll see. But give us a game 7.
I think credit to the Stars on that one. From you hear the interviews and stuff, I think Vegas has to be one of the toughest places to play on the road. So you lose your first 2 at home, and then you have to go to Vegas, which is an absolute show before the game, and the crowd's going wild, and that's got to be one of the toughest places to win on the road. And they come out and they steal 2. That's I'm with you guys. I think we're seeing a game 7. It's going to be in that series.
Yep. Yeah, that's impressive. Good on Dallas too, because certainly the media was all about, like, wow, Vegas, like, is anybody surprised really? All the guys coming off LTIR and like they're a great team, cup champs, and they're already kind of brushing off Dallas, and they come back, storm back, and win 2 in Vegas. So that's kudos to them for that, and that's going to be a good series there. So the other series that ended were the Canes beating the Islanders and the Rangers beating the Caps. Really no challenge for those 2 teams. I was thinking Washington would have put up a little bit better of a fight. That was just 4 straight was easy business for the Rangers.
I'm no expert either, but didn't you take the Isles?
I think I might have, yeah. Then they certainly were. I mean, they were cooked after that game where they had that 3 goal lead, and then they blow a 3 goal lead to like what is that? That's not playoff hockey. That was terrible, and certainly not Islanders hockey. If they get a 3 goal lead, they'd usually lock that down, and they locked down their own offense in that game because I remember I don't think they had a shot the whole third period that game. They finished the game with 12 shots, and they had 12 shots going into the third, up by I think 2 or 3, and they ended up losing that game. That was that's if you lose a game like that in a playoff series, like you're not coming back from that. That's a tough way to go. Um,
I gotta give you props. I gotta give you props, folks. When I was filling out my bracket, I came to that series and I was like, you know what? Falco's got a really good point. I'm riding with him. I'm picking the Isles.
Oh,
as your
fellas,
mistake,
it's
I did
embarrassing.
Like
say
I like where his head's at with this series. I think the Isles can pull this off.
yeah. So did I, and I will say though, I did say about the Rangers Cap series. I said it's either going 7 games or it's a sweep, and I was right
Yeah,
about that. I mean I had 2 guesses technically, but it was a sweep. They certainly sweep the Capitals there, and makes me think you're saying too. Like, hey, the Wings probably could have put up a more of a fight than the Capitals did there. So
I like to think that they maybe could have got one.
yeah,
I like to think that maybe that could have been a 5-gamer.
yeah, that's at least one. I mean, they were
Yeah.
the Caps. They looked like they were trying. They just were no match for the Rangers. So another team that looks really good too is the Rangers. And Canes look good as well too, but the Rangers really impressed me the way they were playing. So yeah,
Let's get your thought on that next series, Phelps. Canes Rangers. What do you
Canes
have coming
Rangers.
out of
That's going to be a good one. I'm going Rangers in that. I have Rangers and Panthers in the conference finals in our bracket challenge. So I'm sticking to that still. And I thought this was going to be the battle in New York with the Islanders advancing, but that certainly did not happen. Canes advance. Canes look good as well too. Like Freddie Anderson back in there. They look solid. So I think that's going to be a great matchup there as well. Yeah, my take on it. I'm picking the Rangers though. I'm picking the Rangers.
I
Rory,
like
who
it.
do you have?
I like it. Yeah, Rangers as well. Let's see that President's Trophy curse get washed here.
Mm-hmm.
Rangers being good and going deep is good for hockey as well. So I'm all for that. They're the more exciting team. I'm on for the Rangers.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a clean sweep there, fellas. 3 for 3 with the Rangers. I just
All
think
right.
their depth is going to take down the Canes. Obviously, going to be a good series, but I got an Oilers. We talked about it previously, but if the Leafs don't make the Cup final, they don't win it. I got an Oilers Rangers final, so I think the Rangers are going to take down the Canes.
Oilers
That would
are
be an
looking
awesome
good
Cup
too.
final. That would
Oilers
be
are
awesome.
looking good. Speaking of which, that series is still going on. It's 3-1. Did you see the stat the other day about power play and penalty kill? How good the Oilers are? All right. So
No.
their power play right now is working at 53% in the playoffs. 53% efficiency, and their penalty kill is 100%. So
Wow.
typically, you like a team would like to be, around like if you combine those two numbers around like 105, 110%, that's considered good, right? You do like 20% power play and an 80% penalty kill, right? There's your 100% there. They're up at 153% right now with the 53% efficiency on the power play and the 100% penalty kill. I can't believe how good their special teams are in the playoffs. And they had a game the other day. Stuart Skinner. Everybody's always chirps Edmonton's goalies. 1-0 final with a power play goal, and that's it. And Stuart Skinner steals one and locks it down. So that's a good sign for the Oilers too. And that's that Oilers Rangers finals would be crazy too. I know Kijo, you'd love that because that's your bracket challenge. That's what you have. So that's Oilers look really solid right now too.
I had to check, and they are the late game tonight. I would love to see them finish that one off.
Yep. put your money down on a power play goal because they're hot right now on the power play. So, yeah, I guess that's kind of it for the matchups in the playoffs. Do you think, back to the Leafs real quick, do you think Allmark starts it tomorrow night, or is it Swayman again?
No, they're going back to Swayman.
Back to Swayman.
Got to.
Swayman. Yeah.
Yeah.
Agree. All right. So, yeah, that wraps up our playoff talk. One final piece before we end things off here. Our regular season challenge that we did, we predicted where each team would land in terms of the standings. Our winner of that, or the closest to being correct, whoever had the most points, was Kijo. You had the most there. Rory, you had the second most. It was close, first and second. And then I was not close. I was down. I think like 7 or 8 less points than you guys did. So it was yeah. I missed on a few things this year. That's for sure.
Blinded by the Sens.
Well, we can say that, sure, yeah. But I missed certainly on the Sens. I missed on the Sabres making the playoffs. I had the Kraken making it as well in the West, and I had Minnesota. I think we all actually had Minnesota making it in the West.
Yeah.
So that was a bit of a surprise that they had a bad year this year.
Nashville and Vancouver as well were a couple big misses. I took a lot of heat. I took a lot of heat for putting Vegas in the second wild card spot at the start of the year. And it's like, you know what? I'll give them a little bit of grace since they won the cup, moved them up to the first wild card. So I ended up just missing on that prediction.
Close. But. Yeah. No, well done. Kijo, you did a pretty good job there too. I think you had so the way it worked was 1 point for guessing the correct it was the correct team in the right spot. Is that correct? That's how it worked?
It was
3 for a playoff team?
It was a point if you guessed the team to make playoffs or not, and then 3 points for their exact positioning in the standings.
There we go. So
I got a little lucky guessing the worst team in the East and the worst team in the West.
The bottom two in each. Yeah.
That's where a lot of my points came from right there. But hey, I'll take it. Win's a win.
Yeah. I think, Rory, you pegged the Sens, or somebody pegged the Sens to be just right. I think it was you, Rory. You had them down at like 13th or something in the East.
Well, definitely wasn't you, Phelps. That's for sure.
Certainly was not. I did not call that. And it definitely wasn't Craig Button either, because he had them going to the conference finals this year in his preseason predictions. Takes. So it's not just us who gets things wrong, right? Even the pro analysts get things wrong as well.
Speaking of TSN hot takes, I was watching TSN. What was it? I heard it this morning, or it was after the game last night. Darren Dreger. Oh, the Buds were able to pull it off without Matthews. Let him rest.
Hot take. Let's let our MVP sit this next one out.
Yeah, let the guy who scored 20 more goals than the next closest guy sit out and take a rest.
No, there's hot takes, and then there's just incredibly stupid takes, and that's got to be one of the stupidest takes I've ever seen in my life.
Yeah.
Maybe, you know what?
We love the hot takes here, though.
Yeah, Samsonov wasn't good. Wall was good, but if he wasn't, maybe the Leafs should just play 6-on-5. Hot take. Let's just play 6-on-5.
Hot takes. Yeah. Well, no, that's good stuff. So yeah, that's it for today. Kijo, any final kind of words of wisdom for the Buds tomorrow night? Advice?
Oh, they got to come out flying. They got to weather the storm if Boston takes it to him off the start. I'm sensing a big game from Mr. Nylander tomorrow night. It's coming. I think he's potting a couple. Swayman has not been bad at all this series. He's bound to have a game where he struggles a little bit. It's going to be tomorrow night. Nylander's potting a couple. The Buds are taking it back to Boston.
That's it. Let's manifest this into reality. There we go. Good stuff. Alrighty.
Good pep talk.
Yeah, so that's it for Between the Dots. Thanks, everyone, for watching. Make sure to like and subscribe to us on YouTube. Follow us on Instagram. You name it, all the socials there. TikTok, we post content there as well, too. So give us a follow, give us a like, and, yeah, tune in next week or next time we're on. And enjoy the rest of the round one, and we look forward to breaking down the action.